Welcome to this explainer on high-impact teaching on a budget. You know, if you're an educator, you already know the absolute struggle of keeping students deeply engaged, especially when your school budget is, well, incredibly tight. It's a massive daily challenge, right? We're constantly hearing about the newest, flashiest platforms that schools supposedly just must have to succeed. But today, we're going to break down exactly how to deliver high-impact teaching on a budget. We're talking about reclaiming your classroom's energy without spending an absolute fortune. Okay, let's dive into this. You don't need expensive technology to create unforgettable lessons. Just think about that for a second. We're so often conditioned to believe that student engagement automatically requires, expensive screens, premium software subscriptions, and massive IT budgets. But this single sentence, it completely shifts the paradigm. It gives us permission to rethink literally everything we know about how learning actually happens. To understand why this is so crucial, we first have to examine the root of the problem, what we call the tech budget trap. Right now, there's this immense, almost crushing pressure on teachers to use the latest, most expensive tech tools just to capture student attention. Administrators push it, society expects it, but honestly, chasing all these tools often leads straight to severe teacher burnout. I mean, you spend hours learning a new platform, trying to integrate it into your curriculum, only to get the spinning wheel of death right in the middle of a lesson. Or worse, you find out the school's budget for it has suddenly run dry. So frustrating, right? So this builds a highly frustrating dynamic. Let's look at the high-tech expectations versus the reality. On one hand, we have this false expectation that you need Silicon Valley-level budgets and expensive tools to keep a classroom engaged. And like we just said, that directly fuels teacher burnout. But then look at the reality. We end up with drained resources and, ironically enough, highly passive learning. Students are literally just staring at glowing screens, passively consuming content rather than actively interacting with it. It's backwards. So the crucial point is that we have to pivot our narrative entirely here. If we genuinely want high-impact teaching, we need to focus on what teachers actually have control over, and that is your pedagogical creativity. It all boils down to participation over price. You might not be able to control the district's technology budget, very few of us do, but you have absolute control over how students interact with the material and with each other right there in your room. Let's completely redefine what we mean by engagement. Really think about it. Engagement is active participation in the learning process, and it is absolutely not determined by the price of the tools used. Seriously, true engagement isn't just a perfectly quiet room. It's definitely not a student staring intently at an expensive 4K monitor. True engagement comes directly from doing, from being active, and from critical thinking. And guess what? None of that requires a hefty price tag. There's actually a really simple, powerful cause and effect mechanic at play here. When you shift your classroom focus to active participation, what happens? Well, you naturally and immediately get increased attention. Students have to be present because they're an integral part of the process now. And when they're actually paying attention, contributing, and succeeding, that naturally drives sustained motivation. It's this incredible chain reaction that costs absolutely $0 to kickstart. So, how do we actually put this all into practice? Let's dive into some high-impact practical strategies. These are 3 budget-friendly techniques that you can literally use in your very next class. No software updates required, no annoying requisition forms to fill out, just pure effective teaching. Let's get into it. All right, here's our first strategy. The incredible power of asking, what if? Starting your lessons with thought-provoking what-if scenarios sparks immediate curiosity. It's like flipping a switch, it instantly grabs the brain's attention. Instead of starting with a dry, boring fact, what if you ask, what if gravity turned off for 5 seconds? Or maybe, what if the author had chosen to let the villain win? It forces active thinking and discussion right out of the gate, and again, it doesn't cost a single dime. And this brilliantly illustrates our next strategy, which takes things a step further: real-life examples. Whenever possible, connect abstract concepts directly to your students' daily lives. For instance, if you're teaching a math concept like percentages, don't just use arbitrary numbers on a stale worksheet. Have them calculate discounts using actual grocery store prices, or figure out the yearly cost of their favorite streaming subscriptions. When you make learning relatable to their everyday lives, it suddenly becomes memorable. Now, let's walk through the simple progression of our third strategy: collaborative problem solving. It takes just 3 really straightforward steps. Step 1, pose a real-world challenge to the room. Step 2, assign small teams. And step 3, have them solve it together. By doing this, you're taking what used to be a solo, passive task and turning it into a vibrant teamwork challenge. You're letting students figure things out cooperatively. This builds vital communication skills while deeply reinforcing the lesson itself. It's a total win-win. As we look at these strategies, I want to shift to a very empowering reminder about your most powerful tool. In education today, we can get so caught up in the hardware, the software, and the physical classroom setup that we completely forget a fundamental truth. The most powerful tool in any classroom, it's not plugged into a wall, it is the educator standing right at the front of it. You already possess the absolute greatest asset for student engagement. And it all really comes down to this powerful takeaway quote. Creativity costs less than equipment and often teaches more. This perfectly encapsulates everything we've broken down in this explainer today. Your ingenuity, your passion, and your pedagogical creativity will always outteach expensive passive equipment. The best, most unforgettable lessons, they're built on ideas, not invoices. So, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative question to think about. Which strategy will you try this week to shift your classroom's energy? Is it going to be launching a lesson with a what-if question, bringing in a real-life example, or maybe setting up a collaborative problem-solving challenge? I really invite you to try just one of these participation strategies this week. Reflect on how the energy in the room completely changes when students become active participants. And above all, remember your immense value as an educator. Keep creating those unforgettable lessons.